Hello, everybody. How is everyone? I know it's 3:45. I'm a little tired. I don't know if I'm the only one, but my notebook is full and my brain is full. But we're going to have a great session with you guys. My name is Annah, and
My name is Cheyanne.
And before we get started, will y'all do something for me? All right, I need everybody to stand up. Okay, so a little bit about me. I work in youth ministry, and I love teenagers. And so I serve teenagers a lot. One of the ways I serve them is by a youth camp in the summertime and a youth retreat in the wintertime. And their favorite part of the day is called Morning Mindfulness with Annah. I turn into this silly, goofy thing, and I get on the stage, and we do morning mindfulness every single morning at camp. And honestly, we've seen such a change in teenagers' attitudes. So anyways, this morning, I was already tired at session 2. And I was like, this afternoon, we're doing morning mindfulness, just in the afternoon. So I'm going to give you all a little taste of something I do with students. Are y'all good with that?
Yes.
It's fun, I promise. Okay, I need you to stretch your arms out wide. And then I want you to give yourself a big hug. And I want you to close your eyes. I'm not going to do anything weird to you. I'm just going to say a few things, and I just want you to give yourself a big hug. And I want you to say these things to yourself. And I want you to say them out loud. Say, I am worthy.
I am worthy.
And I'm intelligent.
I'm intelligent.
I'm a world changer.
I'm a world changer.
And I'm a light for good.
And I'm a light for good.
My brain is full.
My brain is full.
And my heart is too.
And my heart is too.
And I'm so excited
I'm so excited
to get to serve others today.
to get to serve others today.
That's all. Y'all can have a seat.
That was good.
And if you need to do a wiggle, you can do a wiggle. But like I said, my name is Annah Noyes, and I'm with the Noyes Counseling Center, a faith-based nonprofit based in rural Florida. If you know where Gainesville is, where the Gators live, we're about 35 minutes away from Gainesville. And so today we are going to give an overview of what Noyes is as a nonprofit, but then a couple other things. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, I want to explain, or have my team members introduce themselves. So this is Cheyanne. She already said that, but you want to say what you do a little bit?
I'm Cheyanne. I'm a counselor at Noyes. I earned my master's degree from Florida State in social work back in August of 2025, so go Noles. I am also the community engagement coordinator. My title is really long and hard to remember sometimes. So basically that just means that I get to counsel, get to love on my clients, but then I also get to serve our community and meet with community leaders and all of the really fun things. Do our website, help Annah where she needs it. So kind of just do anything that's needed.
Hi, I'm Mariam Newton. I'm the executive director and founder of Noyes. No, it's my baby. I have a wonderful staff. They're amazing. We're almost 3 years old. We're into our third year now as a nonprofit, serving 3 different counties in rural Florida, Gilchrist, Dixie, and Levy. So I'm very glad to be here and hope to get to meet all of you.
Yeah. So today during this presentation, we're going to do a few different things. Number one, I want you guys to be excited and learn about this really cool nonprofit in tiny little Trenton, Florida, in one of the smallest counties in Florida, and to walk away feeling encouraged that there's a faith-based nonprofit making good happen in the world of mental health. Number two, my hope is that you will feel educated in the differences between state licensed counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, and pastoral counselors, which is what we are. And seeing the difference between secular counseling and pastoral counseling, and seeing the similarities and how we all should be working together. Does that make sense? So those are the different things we're going to do. But then lastly, I hope that we can inspire you with some of the successes that we've seen and the different ways that we're making change happen in our community that you can take back to your community. So it's going to be super, super great. But to start, I just want to share what our mission is. Our mission is to bring hope and healing to our local community and beyond through professional, evidence-based counseling and care rooted in biblical principles. So that simply means we're bringing hope and healing to Gilchrist, Levy, Dixie, which is an underserved, very low income, high poverty rates, high drug use, all the things, to our community, but also beyond, and you'll get to see where all we have reached in our short 2 years of operation through evidence-based care, but also rooted in the Bible, which we believe is the 100% true Word of God, and is the best textbook any of us could ever get when it comes to mental health counseling. So before we go on, I have this wonderful video from our director, and I feel like it does a really, really great job of explaining what we are and what we do without me and Cheyanne having to ramble on for a minute. So, yeah.
My name is Mariam Newton, and I'm the Executive Director and the founder of Noyes Christian Counseling Center. I was in ministry for about 12 years as a youth pastor, and then decided to go back to school to become a mental health counselor, a clinical social worker. In my internship and practicum experience, I was unable to bring my faith into every session. Needless to say, I was a youth pastor on a high school campus doing mental health with the answer, which was Christ, and not able to talk about him at all. So that is how Noyes started. I wanted to start a nonprofit, something where people in our community would be able to get the help and the services that they needed, as well as to learn more about who they are in Christ and be able to afford not just one session a month. Noyes Counseling Center has licensed counselors through the National Christian Counselors Association. Our counselors are ordained ministers, they're pastors, but they're also master's level students in mental health counseling, and clinical pastoral counseling, and clinical social work, and many of them have worked outside in private practice as well as in ministry itself. Noyes provides faith-based counseling, and we use something that is called temperament therapy. Temperament is I like to say it's our secret weapon, and it is based off scripture in Psalms 139, where it says, "For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." That scripture tells us that God knew us before we were ever even born. Therefore, He gave us a temperament. It also says in Genesis that we were created in His image. We're not broken. We have a temperament and a specific design that shows us who our identity is in Christ. 90% of clients that came to their first session completed their plan of care. And of that 90% of clients, 100% met their goals. I have people ask me all the time, they'll say, "How can you dream this big? How are you going to pay your staff?" Well, you know what? My boss owns a cattle on 1,000 hills. And he can do it. Together, we can work towards a new way to address mental health and emotional health and well-being in our community. Together, we can open centers, we can introduce more people to Christ and who they are, and share with them their true divine identity that God gave them before they were ever born. Together, we can do so much more. We've had a phenomenal year since 2024. We've reached 260 people in our community, but together, we can reach so many more.
Tearing up. This video, we've watched it at least a dozen times, and every time she says, you know, our boss has cattle on 1,000 hills, man. Hallelujah. Okay, so
Breaks me.
that is who Noyes is, and it's so easy for us to show you this video. The video is a little bit vague about how we got started though. Mariam says that she had the answer and she wasn't able to give it. So we want to give Mariam a chance to explain how Noyes was really started, the story behind it, if you want to.
Yeah.
If not, I can.
Yes, I would love to share with everyone. When I was working during my practicum and hours for licensing through the state board, I was in a private practice. It was wonderful. I was able to intern under one of the best trauma counselors in our area. She's amazing. And that's where I started. And like I said before, I was in ministry for 12 years before I went back to school to do mental health. I decided to go back to school because our pastor, my boss, he was like, Mariam, I'm going to take you with me wherever I go when there's trauma because you're just good at it. You need to come with me. If there's been a death, if there's been something, come with me. So I recognized, okay, maybe that's my place, counseling. My bachelor's was in psychology, and that had been like 23 years ago when I went to school. So I didn't know that I could go back to school at 47 years old and actually grad school, but you know what? I did it. Went back to school. During my practicum, I realized, and that's when I was in the high school, like I said in the video, I was a pastor doing mental health and not able to be me. I don't oppose the clinical side. They're needed. We're needed. I mean, I was on that side, but it wasn't me. It wasn't how I wanted to counsel. But anyway, in that process, what happened was I was in a school. We were based in schools. And I had seen a 12-year-old who had lost his 19-year-old brother to suicide. The 12-year-old was getting in fights. He was really struggling. He had gone through 3 counselors in the school, and he hated them all. He would sit in the corner, and he would just not talk. He was just mad. Hitting kids, just... Our counselor that was in that school left, and so he was given to me. This was in April. He was 12. And we connected. We connected. He liked me. We connected, and we started making progress. And the anger started going away, and he started recognizing the grief that he was feeling and the questions that he had. And we had great sessions. Well, at the end of the school year, what happens is our contract with the schools ends over the summer. So we would have to refer our clients to services that their family can afford. So I was sitting in the parking lot of this school, and I'm on the phone with this mom. And I'm like, I need to tell you that when school is over, I'm going to need to refer him to a counselor because they could not afford the practice that I worked for. They couldn't. They didn't have insurance. They couldn't afford it. So I was referring to a community counseling center that is in our area. And let me just tell you, this mama told me off. She did. And I heard her. She said, I cannot believe that you have established a relationship with my child and this is what counseling is. I can't believe you are leaving him. In that moment, I was not licensed through the state, so I was under my supervisor's licensure. In that moment, I knew that I was going to be working at the church over the summer, filling in for a children's pastor who had left, so I was going to be interim in there for the summer. I just said, no, I'm not leaving him. I will be at his church during the summer. He can come see me. I will see him. And then I called my boss and I said, fire me, I've broke the rules. I'm sorry, I've overstepped. I know this is not ethical. I can't leave this child and I'm okay with you letting me go. So that's the story. She did not let me go. She was like, refer to an outside source and don't do it again. We can't do this, don't do it again. During that process, I was able to minister to the 12-year-old, the 14-year-old, and the mama in a different way, not a clinical way, because that would have been dual roles for me, and I can't do that. But being able to minister to the 12-year-old while the 14-year-old played basketball with the youth pastor, and the mom sat and watched, the 14-year-old and the mom, they were not willing to see a counselor, so angry and hurt. But I was able to friend and minister to them and use the skills that I learned in school. So it was ministry with skills. So
that is how New Way started. Is how can we use these pastors that have gone back to school to do counseling, because that's their heart, but they're also pastors. So I found out that there's a statute in the state of Florida that covers pastors to counsel. So through the NCCA, I did their programming and their licensure, and we are pastors at New Ways that are educated in counseling. We're ministers. We are a ministry. New Ways is a ministry. We are not clinical. We do not diagnose. We do not treatment plan. We minister. So that's my story. That's New Ways. New Ways is going on its 3rd year. We're hanging in there. We've gone from, you're going to share all this, I'm going to take it. I'll let her share the rest. All right. I'm not going to,
The next part of the story, before Cheyanne really gets into the nitty gritty of New Ways, we opened our doors on January 1st, 2024. So this January began our 3rd year. And if any of you know, nonprofits be starving. Ministry be starving. So when you have a nonprofit in ministry, it's a little hard, right? So when we started in January of 2024, I was part-time office staff trying to run a nonprofit on my own. This is my mama, by the way. My mom was full-time counseling, and we had 2 independent contractor counselors that were seeing 2 to 4 clients a week. That was January 2024. We were charging on a sliding scale basis because me and my husband still have to pay our bills, right? And we thought that that would help our underserved, impoverished community. Well, I'll tell you what, March, the Lord spoke so clear to both of us and said, excuse you, last time I checked, salvation and grace is free. And so I'm telling you that your services need to be free too. And you know what we said? Yes, sir. So March, we sat down with the board and we said, God has given us a very direct command that we are to be a free service to our community. We are to be an open door free service. The board, loving the Lord as much as we do, we're like, yeah, let's do it. Well, that was March. I can proudly say, as the bookkeeper and chief operating officer of New Ways, that no hour, no session has ever gone unpaid for our staff. March of 2024, 3 years into operation, we started operating solely off of donations. 100%. And so when she says that her boss owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and we know that he can provide, we're not just blowing smoke. We've truly seen it. By the time we got to summer of 2024, we had 4 part-time counselors. When we started January 2025, paid counselors. By the time we started 2025, there were 2 full-time counselors. I was going on full-time when I could, and we had 4 part-time counselors. As of right now, we have 14 paid people on our staff. 100% ran by donations. And I could literally just be up here and just like dance and jump for a little bit because the Lord's just provided. I run payroll on Monday mornings. I can't tell you how it's happened. I don't know where the money has come from sometimes, but the Lord has provided because this is where he has guided us. So that's kind of the full story that you can kind of see the whole thing. We went from just a few of us and a small little goal to 14 people on staff, and we're meeting clients in like 9 locations. So pretty cool. So I'll turn it over to Cheyanne.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are. We are pastoral counselors. So like Mariam said, we are not licensed through the state. We're pastoral counselors. We are pastors first. So we know what we're doing. Like I said, I got my master's degree from Florida State. We have one other one from Florida State. We have some from St. Leo, Troy University. We have people from really good universities, right? They know what they're doing, they're trained, but we're pastors first. So what does that mean in terms of counseling? Because how can you counsel somebody if you're a pastor, right? That just means that we get to use the Bible as our greatest weapon. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a teenager who really, she hates herself, for lack of better terms. She really hurts. She does not see her value. She really just speaks very low of herself, right? I'm gonna cry talking about this. You can't imagine how powerful it is to be able to sit down. We have this really cool, we could probably find it online somewhere. It's a list of the verses, what God says you are, who God says you are, and how powerful it is to sit down with an 18-year-old and say, read that to me. Read that to me. Read it to yourself. I am worthy. I am loved. I am a child of God, right? And there's, probably 50 terms on there. Just read it and read it and read it, and how powerful that is. There is, in my opinion, there is no therapeutic technique that can beat that. And that's my own personal experience. You can't beat that. I won't say that girl is fully healed, but we are on the right road. So we are pastors first. We are able to use the Bible in our sessions. Not just the Bible, but we can talk to them about Jesus. Who is Jesus? What do you think Jesus is? Right? Like, we can talk to them about that. Going with that, though, we aren't indoctrinating anybody. We're not talking about doctrine. We've gotten a little bit of pushback at the beginning from different faith leaders in our community, thinking that we were trying to preach to people. And I think that there's a difference between pastoring and preaching. So we're not talking about, how do you interpret John 3:16, right? I don't care how you interpret John 3:16. I'm telling you that Jesus loves you, right? If they have questions about doctrine, what does this specific passage mean? Go talk to your pastor. If you don't have a pastor, I know a pastor. Walk over to the church. So that's what pastoral counselors do. We are also temperament therapists. So Miss Pam was lucky enough to come to our temperament workshop yesterday. I don't see any other faces in here that were. Temperament is this really cool tool that we get to use. So there is a secular side of it. Some of you may have heard of it. I don't remember who founded the secular side.
So many, everybody.
It goes back to like Hippocrates
Hundreds of
times.
Yeah.
But temperament is the idea that God created us in a very specific way, very specific design with a very specific set of needs. There are 5 different temperaments. I won't go into it because that's something I can ramble on forever.
Yeah.
If you have questions about temperament, come see me. But we get to use that with our clients. So when we do the temperament test with our clients, we are able to see what their needs are, what buckets need to be filled, and how they need to be filled. So, for example, I am called a supine. That's my temperament. I really like to be invited, but I'm not going to tell you I want to be invited, right? So for me, if I were Mariam's client, she would need to teach me how to voice my expectations. Actually, she has told me that many times. Voice your expectations. So that's how we would use temperament in our sessions, is knowing what the client's needs are and how we can help them to fill those buckets the way that they need to be filled. Like I said, I'm master's level. All of our counselors are master's level
Or higher.
or higher. We have we have 2 that are working on their doctorates right now. So Mariam just submitted her dissertation. Yeah, and then Heather is another one of our counselors. She is working on her dissertation. So she's amazing. We're really proud of them, but we are all educated. We're master's level. Many of us are eligible for state licensure, but we choose not to because, we'll get into that a little bit more, but state licensure puts a little bit of restriction on what you can do in the faith world, right? So, for master's level, we know what we're doing. We're a nonprofit. So, like Anna said, we are completely funded by donations. We choose not to be funded by state or federal funding, just because, again, that can put a little bit of red tape on what you can do, and we don't want the restrictions right now. Not to say, if we were handed a grant, we would be very thankful because we need to pay our people. But we're a nonprofit, and we have no cost counseling services, and that's just something that we love to, that's just my favorite thing about us, because we have, I guess we'll get into this too, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Our area, when we say poverty, we mean poverty. So a little bit about me, I used to work in child welfare in our area, and so I saw kids living in tents, I saw multiple families living in a camper, I saw people living in sheds. I have clients that live in sheds right now, we are poor. Our counties, the average poverty rate is about double the state rate. I think it's about 16% is the average for all 3 of our counties. We offer online and in-person sessions, so that means that if you have any friends or if you want to see us, we can see you too online. And that is really cool in our area where we have a lot of barriers, specifically with transportation. That's something that we've seen a lot. We're able to say, okay, well, hop on your mama's phone, go sit in the car, and we'll do a session. I've had several clients like that, so.
And so we offer a ton of different services. Just because we're pastoral counselors doesn't mean that our counselors aren't trained in a huge list of modalities. Like Cheyanne said, we've got all sorts of degrees. And so we offer individual counseling for just about anything you think of. Suicide prevention, teenagers, anxiety, stress, PTSD, CPTSD, sexual abuse, domestic violence, you name it. We probably have an active client going through that right now. And so it's been really cool to be able to service clients with individual counseling for whatever their need is, but they don't have to worry about funding. We get to bring Jesus into it, but that doesn't mean that we're necessarily exclusive of other religions. I always love to say this specifically. There is not one person who would ever be turned away from New Ways. And we will never indoctrinate or force a belief on somebody. Actually, in our first 2 years of operation, I found that 60% of our clients didn't necessarily, 40% of our clients had no religious affiliation at all, or was totally undisclosed. And so we're totally, we're not here to discuss doctrine, we're here to get you well. And we're just gonna love you like Jesus. So that's a little bit of what we can do for individual counseling. On top of individual counseling, we're also able to do marriage counseling, premarital counseling, family counseling. Something that you can't do in the secular field is counsel a teenager and give parental recommendations to the parent. How many of you are parents? How many of you have had like a child in counseling before? So you have experienced, and they're there for a reason. HIPAA laws they're pretty strict, but specifically with teenagers and with children, sometimes there's a disconnect between what the counselor is teaching and what the parent is parenting as. What we've been able to do at New Ways is whole health model. Whole family is taken care of. We're able to be like, hey mom, hey, I know you're sitting in the lobby enjoying your snacks, but do you want to come join me? And we'll chat about what we discussed. And then we're able to have full family conversations. Does that mean that we snitch to parents? No, never. It is always in the best interest of the client, especially with teenagers. And the teenagers have the power to say, no, can we keep this between us? Unless, of course, it's hurting somebody else, hurting themselves, or somebody else is hurting them. We all know that, right? And then on top of individual, family, and marriage, we also offer educational counseling. This is something that I offer. So we offer counseling for all ages, including adults working towards their GED, and high schoolers working towards college prep. So SAT, ACT, and those sorts of things. So those are just a few things that we do at New Ways. So, goodness me. So like I said, we've been open for 2 years. We're in a really small area, right? Like tiny area. My graduating class was like 70. So small area. If you don't live in a rural area, I'm sorry, you just probably don't understand it. You're like these country bumpkins. But anyways, we've served over 500 clients. That's a huge number for any nonprofit in their beginning years, but for our area, it's crazy. Our client age range, our youngest client is 5, which is usually the youngest we take, and our oldest client is 77.
That's our oldest active client.
Active client, yes, that is actively being seen, and our age demographic is totally spread out. We see all ages, male and female, all of them equally. It's pretty cool.
Our oldest ever was like 89, 89? 79.
79.
Yep. We have kept 4,272 appointments. That is a crazy number to me. And my favorite stat, because I get people who ask me this all the time, they say, hey, you're offering a free service. I'm sure people don't show up, right? They show you up. They got no skin in the game. Why don't you charge them? Our no-show rate is 3%, which is way lower than the clinical arena. So, which I think just shows just how much our clients love our counselors. We have served in 3 countries, the United States, Colombia, and Costa Rica. Yes, goodness, I couldn't remember. And we have served in 8 states and a lot of Florida counties. 21 Florida counties. So while we are specific to really making a difference in Gilchrist, Levy, and Dixie, we're also committed to helping whoever needs us. Our furthest away client in the States was Oregon. We have some active clients in Oregon, we got Texas, we got Maine, all sorts of things. And that's all with virtual counseling, which is really cool.
Yeah. I do want to note, we're also prison ministry. We have Heather, who's working on her doctorate. She's also in the prisons doing ministry with in the women's prison. So she's able to counsel, she's able to do temperament, she's able to just really create that love and support that they need.
Yeah.
And so you're able to go and counsel in different states?
Yes,
Yep.
because we're pastors.
We do
Pastors
it
are
virtually,
pastors
but-
everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Including prisons, hospitals, because we're clergy.
Yep. All right, so what is the difference between state licensed and pastoral counselors? Okay, so like I said, many of us are eligible for state licensure. We decide not to, though. That's our choice. We just choose not to. So first and foremost, the difference is the cost, right? There's one specific provider that I can think of in our area that charges. When I went for myself to see, hey, how much would it be? Just general anxiety, I just want to see a couple times. It was $180 out of pocket per hour, per session. So that was with insurance. They just didn't accept my insurance. With insurance, it would have been, I think, like a $50 copay or something like that. But again, we live in a very rural community, a very poor community. $180, that's a light bill. That's a week's worth of dinner. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. And so whenever our demographics, our area, our community has to choose between therapy or lights on, they're gonna choose their lights every time. I mean, who wouldn't, right? So that's the biggest difference.
And of course, with pastoral counselors, with us specifically, there's no cost. But with most other pastoral counselors, the cost is just very, very minimal. All the different places I've found, the cost is, you're gonna be $40, $50, so much less than $150, $200 per session.
All right, with state licensure, you guys know state licensure offers very strict guidelines. You have to follow that code of ethics. You have to pass the boards. You have to do the continuing education. You have to, all these really strict guidelines, what you can say, what you can't say, the liability. You have to diagnose, all of those things that we don't want to do. I'll let you explain why.
And we have flexible boundaries. We're just as professional as we would be if our counselors were state licensed, but we have flexible boundaries. So like I said about families, we can talk with parents. We can accept a gift. Ms. Mariam's gotten amazing, sweet gifts that she's able to look at and remember clients for. So we can take a little card from a client, which is just precious. We can buy them Christmas gifts. We can take them to lunch. There's so many things that we can do in ministry and love them because there's not as much red tape. It's ministry.
When I first started at Noyes last year, I started during my internship. They had just sponsored a pig for the county fair for a kid that needed a sponsor for their pig. And so we're able to do that. And then another fun thing, my 18-year-old that is dealing with just her self-talk, I'm able to go to her psych appointments with her. One is that support, and here I'm with you, not just as a counselor, but as a friend. And also make sure that she's being honest with her psych nurse, that she's telling her what her actual symptoms are and how the medicine is working, and that goes into the flexible boundaries. I wouldn't be able to do that necessarily if I were state licensed. Like I said earlier, we do not diagnose, state licensure does diagnose.
Yes. So instead of slapping a diagnosis on a teenager that will be with them for the rest of their lives, or instead of putting a diagnosis to a law enforcement officer or somebody in our armed forces, which would cause them to possibly lose their jobs, lose their positions, we just give them freedom in Christ. That means we still believe diagnoses exist.
And are needed.
Very much so. We still believe that medication is needed a lot of times. And we're going to work with the clinicians that can diagnose and do medication. But it gives us the freedom to be able to not have to have those labels. Because if you believe in the Lord like I do, you know that the Lord gives freedom. He doesn't do chains. So we don't put those on people unless they really need them, and then we're going to do that. But if you didn't know this, if you ever use insurance at a doctor's office, psychiatry, psychologist, they have to put a diagnosis on you. You get a diagnosis if they bill your insurance. And we don't have to do that. So, yeah.
State licensure gets to offer that body and soul support, which is that's important to offer that. How's your mind doing? How are you doing physically? That's important.
But we're also able to interact with the spiritual side of you. Psychology textbooks explain that we are tri-beings, body, soul, and spirit. And when we don't interact and take care of the spiritual part of us, even if you're not religious, spiritual doesn't mean religious. That's totally okay. Spiritual can simply mean you feel most at home and grounded in nature. And I love that for you. Me too. And so we have to take care of all three areas in order to be truly healthy.
State licensure tells clients that they are the expert of themselves. So state licensed clinicians would look at the client as they know what is best for them all the time, always.
But we say, you're a child of God. And we know that the Bible is very clear that our hearts are deceptive and that our thoughts are not always good. Our ideas aren't always the best. And as pastoral counselors, we're able to say, oh, baby girl, that boy's not good for you. If we were licensed, we'd have to be like, oh, you love him? That's great. Because they are the expert of themselves. And you have to agree because you are their biggest supporter. And we love that. That's amazing. And yes, I do believe that we all know individually what we each need. But I also know that God created us for a purpose. And we can walk away from that. So that's kind of where that comes in.
So how are we the same? Many of the techniques that we use at Noyes are similar, if not the same, to techniques that you would see in a clinician's office. We use CBT, DBT. We have somebody training in TBRI right now. We have many of the same techniques that we would use, or the modalities. We know them, we adopt them, we use them, but we go back to those biblical roots too. Our education is the same as many clinicians. We have our master's degree. Like I said, many of us, Mariam was ready to take the boards. She had every requirement met. She was ready to take the boards, and then the Lord showed her somewhere else. We have several counselors on our team that are in the same boat. They were just a couple of steps behind, and they would have been LCSWs, LMHCs, but they're not. They chose not to. But our education is widely the same.
So we're also professional and compliant. We use Fairnest or Insora. If anybody's a counselor in here, you probably recognize that name. Our counselors take notes. Our counselors are HIPAA compliant. We don't share client names ever. What happens at Noyes stays at Noyes. Anything that is disclosed to a counselor, unless it's harm related, that is 100% confidential. We want our clients to know that they are safe with us, just like they would be at a doctor's office. We use consents, just like a doctor's office. So that confidentiality and that professionality is the exact same as anywhere else that you go. And that just leads into quality care. We're not some Bible thumpers that are like, oh, pray harder. If you've ever heard that, I'm sorry. No. We're going to take care of the whole person. And we're going to be there through the thick and the thin. And we're going to give you the quality care that you deserve. But lastly, the goal is the same. And this is where I like to appeal that together, just like she said in the video, together we can do so much more, because we need the psychiatrist, we need the psychologist, we need the mental health professional for medication, for diagnoses, for treatment of severe PTSD. We need those things.
Yeah.
We need the clinical side. But we also need to not neglect the spiritual side if the client feels fit to that, if they choose that. And so, because the goal is all the same, wellness and health and happiness of our clients. It's the exact same thing that we all are trying to do. The goal, saving lives. That's the goal.
So what are we doing at Noyes?
And this is the part that I hope will really inspire you guys, because beyond clients, this is what we're doing to change our community.
We are training and educating. So, like I said, we are temperament therapists. We are also an accredited, what's the word?
We're a certified academic institution.
We're a certified academic institution to teach temperament therapy to different counselors or people who just want to be certified temperament therapists. So this is a couple of our classes.
And then something I am very passionate about is suicide prevention and awareness, hence why we're here, and why we were here last year as well. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through Let the Light In, which you are all invited. I want to give you all invitations. We do it in the month for suicide prevention and awareness in September. It's an evening 5K, all afternoon, evening family event, where we remember those lost, celebrate those who have walked away from past suicide attempts, and looking forward to a brighter future together as a community. This is my favorite event. You can see there, if any of you are on TikTok, the young girl on the sign, she's 13, Aubrey Wyatt. Her mom is now an advocate for suicide, specifically in young teens. And we dedicated this last year to her and her family, which was an absolute precious moment for me. But on top of that, you can sponsor signs for lost loved ones and get to celebrate them. Like we celebrate them. We celebrate their lives. We celebrate who they were and who they still are. And we're also able to give hugs to those who could have not been here today. And it is a beautiful, beautiful event.
I'm gonna pop in. One of our favorite memories that we talk about, every time Let the Light In comes up, we talk about this. A family had sponsored a sign for, maybe he was an uncle, he was a man in their family. And we look over, the night's dwindling down, the race is over, and his family, there's probably about 10 of them, 8 to 10, and they're circled around his sign, eating their dinner, picnic style, with him included. And it was a really beautiful thing to get to see them celebrate their loved one. They
In
ran
public.
In public, there's no
And-
taboo.
Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And I think they had their matching shirts, and they were able to celebrate him and remember and love him. And as all of you know, sometimes that's not welcomed in the public and in communities, and I think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a loss. Loss is loss, and suicide's not a crime. So anyways, Let the Light In's really excited, and I have little flyers. I'd love for y'all to join. It's really, really fun. If you live too far away and you can't come, you can still sponsor a sign if you wanted to. And I can give you more information on that if you wanted.
Oh, this was cool that we did. If any of you went to the Hope Network's session this
was
morning, it was
incredible.
amazing. And she does little Hope blocks, which are incredible. I encourage all of you to go look at her stuff at hopenet.org. But this is kind of the same thing where we had people that were attending Let the Light In write messages to themselves, their younger selves, what you would say to yourself during a rainy day, what gets you through the hard days, what do you do for self-care. And so we had everyone come through, Let the Light In, write messages, and now we have these amazing papers that are filled to the brim of just beautiful, beautiful words. All right, community awareness and involvement. So like I said, part of my job is to reach out to different community and individuals, community organizations. So we've gotten to speak at several different Rotary clubs, chamber events, community organization events, and really get to have them know who we are, what we're doing, how they can support us, and let them know that we are in support for them. So if we have a restaurant in one of our towns that has reached out to ask if we can just come see her servers every once in a while, because serving's hard sometimes, and she just wants to make sure that they have an opportunity to talk to somebody if they need it. So this is...
And we've seen a huge shift in our little rural community, simply from showing up at those public meetings and being a voice for mental health. So I would recommend, if you ever have a day and you know when your local Rotary Club or Chamber or Commerce or City meetings are happening, show up and use your voice, and you'll be amazed at the things that happen. And we've truly seen a shift in the atmosphere in our communities just from us kind of showing up at those meetings and educating and loving on people too.
Rotary clubs and chambers, I feel like, are always looking for guest speakers,
Yes.
and so we've had really
A
good
little
luck.
plug there.
Little plug. We've had really good luck with just emailing the presidents of those clubs, and they've typically invited us to come to speak, and then also supported us, which is amazing. Another really cool thing that we got to do, we recently got to go to the Florida Capitol to advocate for faith-based mental health services. We got to talk to several different representatives and Florida senators, and just tell them about the importance of faith-based mental health, as well as how legislation can change to help make it more accessible, because right now there really is no state funding opportunities for faith-based mental health unless we are licensed clinicians. So this was really cool. This is just a simple plug. So the girl in the gray jacket, like on this side, that is Carol Lynn. She is an amazing part of our team. She's also, she's amazing. But she got to go to the Capitol to speak about Guardian Ad Litem and how amazing that program is. And that's how we got our invitation, because she's just such an incredible human being. They were like, we love you and we want to know what you do. And she gave a shameless plug about Noyes. All right.
And the other thing that we do is we work to partner with other organizations. Has anybody heard of Mind Your Melon? So Mind Your Melon is a nonprofit organization started by a farmer who lost his dad. The dad said that he was busy one Sunday morning for church, let his family go to church, and he took his own life after a failed crop season. If you didn't know, farmers are one of the highest suicide rates in the world because they can lose everything in a single day. And that is devastating, especially when you live in a rural community that says to pull up your bootstraps and suck it up, buttercup, because that's just the type of people they are. So we've partnered with him. We've also partnered with many other organizations and places this is Derek. He's another organization that we partner with. He actually shared our office for a little while because we're ministers. We get to minister and take care of other organizations. And so we really, really strive to partner and work with other organizations because it really does take a village. It takes a village, and it takes all of us. So to end today, I want to show you some of the things that we've witnessed. And it's absolutely incredible. So while Cheyanne's pulling that up, what's the
Client success stories. So I wanted to read a couple of the client success stories that we've seen, because that's our biggest success, right, is how our clients are doing. Okay, so here we go. A couple who was married for over 25 years, they walked in with divorce papers in hand. They were done. They were absolutely done. They, after counseling with one of our amazing counselors, I'm pretty sure it was Mariam, they were like high school sweethearts again. They were so in love, and you would think that they were on their honeymoon. It was incredible. I personally had a client who, when she came in, she was having multiple panic attacks. She had to pull over on the side of the road on the way to her first session because she couldn't breathe, she couldn't see. After a few sessions, when we worked together, I used some CBT with her. It's February, it's been at least 3 months, and I have not gotten a single call from her saying that she's got it, she's had a panic attack. She's amazing. We've had clients who were victims of horrendous abuse, domestic violence, sexual abuse, all those things, and they healed. Really, they were healed, and they became advocates for mental health. So those are some of our client success stories. We've had, over 500 amazing stories from individual clients. But more than our client success stories,
We've also created a safe space for suicide to be talked about. Besides Let the Light In, we're also partnered with our local law enforcement agencies specifically. And the law enforcement agents know that when a traumatic situation happens, they can call Noyes and we're gonna be there. Just recently, an absolutely horrible situation happened and an entire family perished in a fire. In our small community, a tragedy like that hits hard because you have connections to everybody in the counties. And those law enforcement officers, those first responders were struggling. It was a family of 7. And instantly, because they know they can't get reprimanded and they trust us, they called this lady right here and was like, we need you on standby just in case our officers need you. And so that has been an absolutely incredible thing because, as you know, that's one of the highest demographics for suicide as well. Because they gotta suck it up, just be who they are. As well as our veteran community. 2 of our counselors are veterans, and we work very closely with the VA. And we've seen huge success with talking about suicide specifically with veterans, but with Let the Light In as well too.
we're having really cool mental health conversations in rural Florida. So if you have ever been to Levy, Gilchrist, or Dixie County, you know that they are very small, they are very country. We like our sweet tea, we have a bunch of farmers. Gilchrist County has 1 red light in the entire county. That's how small we are.
It's the Bible
Yeah.
Belt, so they're
It
gonna
is-
go to their
It is
pastors.
the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And so, so the cool thing about being pastoral counselors is whenever people are in crisis in our area, they're going to their church. There is a church
Even
on
if
every
they're not
corner.
churchy, they go to the pastors.
Even if
'cause
they're
they
not
got-
churchy.
They got the info.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody on the Levy County word of mouth saying, hey, I have experienced this crisis, or I need my light bill paid, or yada, 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 and the comments are just flooded with, go to the church, go to the church. I know a pastor, and so when people are needing something, they go to the church in our communities. And so it's been really cool to
Yeah.
be that opportunity for people.
With mental health conversations, multiple mental health clubs have been started in middle schools and high schools in our area. Mental health is being talked about in all of the different communities and in pastors. We actually host a pastor's lunch once a month where we love on our pastors because they're another demographic that doesn't get help. Everybody goes to them for help. Nobody ever asks if they're okay. And they know that they can with us. So we're having those mental health conversations and teaching pastors what to do when somebody comes to them in a major crisis. Because they don't have psychology degrees, they don't have mental health degrees. What do you do when somebody says, I have a plan to take my life? And we've been able to educate. So that's pretty awesome. With community partnerships, we're a part of every organization in our area, which is important. But we're also in 8 schools these days. The schools love us. And when a child or a parent is wanting that faith-based piece for their child that's struggling in school, going through a divorce, having mental health concerns, we're able to have partnered with the school. The school can call us up immediately. If there's been a loss and students are grieving, we're able to be a partner with them and train their teachers, train their staff. So it's been pretty cool.
Along with that, Anna mentioned the fire. That fire was horrendous. It killed 4 kids as well. One of them was an infant. And literally within hours of the fire, the American Red Cross had reached out to see if we could be on standby if the parents needed it or if the family needed it. The victim's advocate at the sheriff's office had called us to make sure that if any family members needed care, that they could come to us. So the community has realized that we are a support, and they've started to lean on us whenever there's a need, which has been really cool. And then the increased confidence and assurance for public figures. That was the easiest way that we could say this. We wrote out a blurb,
Yes.
and then we were like, got it, thank you. We're like, how do we condense that into like 5 words? So, Anna mentioned it earlier. Whenever law enforcement officers, first responders, firefighters, when they have a crisis, when they're dealing with that trauma, that really awful scene that they had just gone to, they have reluctancy to reach out to a clinical provider because they don't want the diagnosis. They don't want the diagnosis. They don't want it to get back to their boss. My dad's a cop, I know this firsthand. They don't want, somehow Butch, who knows Sheriff McCallum, reached out, and now I'm on desk duty because they think that I am too messed up in the head after seeing an infant killed in a fire, right? So they have that confidence where they know they can call us. We're gonna give them quality care, but we're not gonna tell anybody if it's not a crisis, like if it doesn't need to be told. Does that make sense? So there's that. Our pastors, our political figures, it's all the same. They know that they can come to us and have that confidence and confidentiality.
And it's been really cool because they have the safety of not having to worry about that diagnosis that could get back to their boss. But also, I cannot tell you how many huge church pastors, head pastors, and government officials we have served. And they feel safe enough to because they know that they can park in the back. They know that we can do it 100% confidentially, where nobody else on staff even knows that they're being seen. And they are able to have that safe place for mental health counseling and put down the walls. Because if you know public figures, they have wall after wall after wall after wall after wall. And so that has been really, 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 really exciting to see.
Okay, and that was it. All right, and then we just want to reiterate, together we can make a difference in the world of mental health.
And it takes all of us.
It takes all of us. We know that clinicians are important, and we love the clinicians. We love the secular side, and we love to work together. But there's also another side of things that needs to be touched. So that's us. Any questions?
I would love to get everybody information on Noyes if you would like it, but also invitations to let the light in, because I'd love to see y'all there. Oh my goodness, that would make me so excited.
If you got goodie bags and you got a little box of matches in your goodie bags,
That was
there's a
us.
QR code. That was us. The QR code will take you to the Let the Light In info page.
Yeah. But we have a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions? We're total open books. Yes.
Mine's just kind of specific to the training. Do you guys have like a website or something that someone can see and access the trainings? Or
So
what you provide?
there are a lot of things. Our website has a lot of information about what we do and why we do what we do. But we also, with temperament specifically, we offer classes. We're a certified academic institution with the National Christian Counselors Association. And so we offer those trainings and classes. I think the next one will be starting in August. So if you are a clinician or a pastor or just a lay person, but you want a tool that makes it where you can really, really get somewhere with a client or a friend or members of your church, it's an incredible thing. But as for other things, I hope that we can have some extra resources in the future. Yes.
So is that online? Do you offer that online in August?
Yep, we do it. We can do it on Zoom. So they meet weekly. It's a weekly class with one of our counselors. Yeah.
Jenny's
anyways,
not here.
Jenny's
but
not
she was
here,
with us
but-
in the first presentation. The classes are through the National Christian Counselors Association. You can go through them and take the classes online directly through the NCCA, or you can go through New Ways. We're actually less expensive than them, and you
And
have that
cooler.
one-on-one. Well, we love them. They're who we're licensed under, but our classes are more one-on-one, where you really have that
Practice time.
practice time.
Yeah.
And we're a little less expensive than they are, but you can go online through the National Christian Counselors Association and certify through them, but you can go New Ways as well. It is just an amazing tool. Temperament is, and the APS, the profile that they give us, it is just so much information about the individual just from the questions that they answer, about their needs, their weaknesses, their strengths, their needs, and looking at it from a biblical perspective. I mean, it's, these are the ways that you're designed, you were designed this way, and maybe you're living outside that design, and now you're anxious and depressed, and you don't know where you fit. It's
If anybody is interested in taking their temperament, that assessment, you can reach out to our office and we can do it virtually. We do have to meet with you and explain the temperament thing to you, but you can reach out to us and we can send you the link to take the assessment. And there's a little bit of a cost.
And you can meet one of our counselors. And we don't charge you for it, it's just we have to pay for it, $15 for the assessment, but it's life-changing. But any other questions? Well, before we leave, would you mind if I pray for y'all before we go? And thank y'all just for being here. We appreciate it. But Lord, thank you so much for today. God, I just thank you so much for every single individual in this room that is a world changer, who is saving lives through suicide prevention, suicide awareness, through mental health counseling. God, I pray for the ministers in this room, that you will just give them strength and wind in their sails so that they can continue ministering and changing lives in your name. God, I thank you so much that you've given us the Bible to understand ourselves and you better. God, I thank you that you are the ultimate and greatest counselor. And God, I am just so overwhelmed and honored to be part of your army. God, just be with us as we go throughout the rest of this conference. Bless the Florida Suicide Prevention Coalition, and just come join us, and may we just glorify you in every single thing we do. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank y'all. I didn't get no pictures. I got one shot yet. Sorry. You had one shot.
Good job.
I got one job, I failed